Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live, our weekly show right here on the internet. And normally you can find us at 5 p.m. on Tuesdays, but if you've looked at your watch, you'll notice that it's 6 p.m. And that's because today I had a meeting on the phone that I couldn't get out of, so I just had to start a little bit later. It was a fun meeting. It was about PCI compliance, so payment card industry stuff. Like how we process credit cards at our stores and all the security with that. So, yeah, great stuff to be discussing, especially on a nice, rainy day. Um, Anyhow, that aside, I am here and live now, and we have a lot to cover tonight. So, this is going to be our biggest episode in quite a while because we've got a full slate of things to do. One of which is drawing for our gift card. And it's green. I'm in front of a green screen, so if I hold it up, it's invisible. If I flip it over, there we go. But yeah, we've got a gift card to have a drawing for tonight. And we had a huge number of people register to win the gift card. Just shy of 1,000 people entered. I think it was 860 something like that, which was great. And we'll do the drawing for it a little bit later in the episode. But first, I wanted to go over a little bit about caring for hanging baskets. So, over the weekend, with it being Mother's Day weekend and our hanging baskets and flats being on sale, I know a lot of you probably now have a hanging basket at your house. So, whether it's a fern, a New Guinea impatient, a geranium, a basket full of petunias or calibrachoa, they all need some care. So, with the weather getting warmer, you're going to have to water them more often. But also, an important aspect of that is feeding your plants. So, let's take a look at some ways to feed your hanging baskets. Hi, John Morgan here with Bob's Market and Greenhouses, and today I am down here at our Mason, West Virginia market. And over the weekend, a lot of you might have purchased a hanging basket. So today I'm going to talk about caring for your hanging basket. And one of the most important things is proper feeding. So let's take a look at some options for feeding your hanging baskets. Here at Bob's Market, we exclusively use Jack's Classic Fertilizer, and one of the easiest ways to fertilize your containers is with a time-release fertilizer. So their Classic Coat fertilizer, you add a little bit to your container at the start of the season, and it releases a little bit of fertilizer every time you water. So this 4-pound container, it is enough to fertilize 120 hanging baskets. Another great option is their Blossom Booster fertilizer. So it is great for any flowering hanging basket. If you have a lot of petunia hanging baskets or petunias in your landscape, petunia feed is another great option. It's what a lot of towns use to feed their town baskets. Whether you're growing flowers or vegetables, Jack's all-purpose fertilizer is a great choice because it's just so versatile. It's a nice 20-20-20 mix, which is perfect for pretty much any plants outdoors. And finally, if you got one of our ready-to-go tomato planters with the cage that's built into it, Jack's also makes a tomato specific fertilizer. So this is a great option for not only tomato plants in containers, but also out in your garden. So let's take a look inside one of these containers. Inside every container of J.R. Peters Jack's Classic Fertilizer, you'll find three things. There is a great pamphlet on a little bit of the history of Jack's Classic, but also how to tell when your plants need watered, how to mix the fertilizer, and all of that great information. Then they also come with this awesome measuring scoop to tell you how much you need for the size watering can that you have. Which I believe the largest, I'm trying to read it here, the largest is a tablespoon measurement, and then teaspoon down to a quarter teaspoon is the smallest measurement there on the cup. And then of course you have the fertilizer in the bag. So this is a water soluble fertilizer. So you measure out according to the instructions, add it to your watering can, and then add kind of lukewarm water to make sure that it dissolves. And you should get a nice, beautiful blue liquid. And that is all that you have to do to be able to ensure that your plants are getting the nutrition that they need. For example, the proper mixing for this tomato feed is 1 teaspoon per gallon of water every time you water, or if you only want to apply it once a week, you can do 1 tablespoon per gallon every 7 to 14 days. And again, you use the handy measuring spoon that's included to do that measurement. And that's all there is to ensuring that your plants have the nutrition that they need. Of course, with hanging baskets, make sure that they're getting enough water. With a basket like this, you can do that by kind of lifting up on it to see how heavy it is, or you can stick your finger down in the soil, and down about 1 inch or so, you should be able to feel moisture. For this and other great information, find us online at bobsmarket.com. Also, check out our market here at Mason. Today, we're getting in a wide selection of produce, and as we get further into the summer, we'll have even more available. So that is some quick tips on caring for your hanging baskets and making sure that they get the amount of feed and fertilizer that they need. Of course, as the days get hotter, you need to make sure that you're keeping track of how much water your hanging baskets are getting. Up next, it's time to do our drawing. So up first, I normally monitor the chat on my phone, but because we had so many entries, I need to pull up a little app that is a random number generator app. So we had 857 entries, so I'm going to use this app to randomly pick a number between 1 and 857, and that person will be our winner. So let me go ahead and do that now, and then we'll jump over to the spreadsheet where I have them just in the exact order that they came in. Okay, so I just hit generate, and it gave me the number. Ooh, let me find it there on the screen. And of course, it's backwards. So 649. So 649 is our winner. So let me jump over to the web page here, which might be kind of hard to see, and I've got to pull it up here myself. This is a little bit awkward. Sometimes when I have less entries, I'll just cut them out and put them in a container, but I didn't feel like cutting out over 800 pieces of paper. Let's see, what was it again? 649. Ooh, I'm really bad at scrolling. Here we go. So 649 is Sharon Roush. So, oh, and it won't let me zoom in. I'm trying to zoom in on it. Here we go. Zoom 200%. There we go. Sharon Roush is our winner. So she's number 649. And real quick, I'm going to write that down before I forget. So congratulations, Sharon. You're our winner of our Mother's Day gift card drawing online. And of course, keep an eye out on our website because we do drawings periodically, either for gift cards or other awesome prizes. I know we've done like travel mugs in the past and umbrellas and all kinds of cool stuff like that. So, well, Sharon Roush, I'll get a hold of you. Helps if I write down her last name there. That way I can always go back and watch the video, but trying to scroll through and find it, not fun. Up last tonight, or well, next to last, because I also want to take a look at the weather before we head out this evening, which hopefully we get some better weather. And hey, I see some folks are saying congratulations, Sharon. So Amanda Grimm, Patty is watching. Hello, everyone that's watching. Of course, you know, as always, feel free to leave comments. I try to either watch them over here or on my phone. And if I'm doing a pre-recorded video segment, I can kind of jump into the chat and comment along with you if you have questions. Which kind of goes along with the next thing. So this past weekend, I planted the row section of my garden. So my garden's kind of divided into two sections. I have a raised bed area where I grow, you know, like leaf lettuce and all that kind of stuff that can fit in raised beds. The stuff that I grow in larger amounts, like my Silver Queen corn, Blue Lake bush beans that I can. I grow those in rows in kind of a more traditional Victory style garden section. So this past weekend I planted beans, corn, and also a row of okra. So I got that on video and let's take a look at that now. So again, if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments. And also give this video a like and a share. And that way more people can join us here on Bob's Live every Tuesday. This evening I'm getting ready to plant the rows in my garden. So I'm going to be planting corn and beans. And a few weeks ago I tilled up my row area. But this evening, before I get started, I need to just go back over it again to kind of break up that upper layer and make it so I can work the soil and plant the rows. Ew, there we go. All right, so I got the garden tilled up
now I just need to plant my rows. And in last year's garden, I had the corn on this side and the beans on the other end. So this year I'm going to flip it. And that's because beans fix nitrogen to the soil and corn takes nitrogen out of the soil. That way we maintain a balance by doing crop rotation. Also last year, my onions I had in the first row right here. Now that I have my raised beds done, I have them over here where I can get to them a little bit easier. So that gives me more room to plant more rows. Another thing that I'm going to do is plant okra as the very last row. So last year I had okra planted in a bed over here. I harvested a ton of seeds, so I'm going to replant those as a row. And hopefully this year I'll be able to can and freeze okra to use later in the season. So that's my plan. Now I just need to lay out my rows, figure out where they're going to go, and get them made. And the way that I do that is just using a garden hoe. Alright, for my first row, I'm going to come over just a little bit, and that way I can still get the rototiller down through. Ideally, I want to be able to till between the rows during the first at least month or so, before the plants get too big that I can't get the tiller through. And that saves me a lot of labor at the beginning of the season. So I'm just kind of lining it up off the edge of the raised bed over here. I've got some weeds here that I need to deal with, which I have a garden torch, and I'll just go down through and burn those weeds later. I just sort of eyeball it and go down through. Something my grandfather always used to say is you can fit more plants in a crooked row. So if they're not perfect, I don't really worry about it. So for my next row, I'm going to maintain about the same spacing. And something that helps is I can kind of use the lines created by the rototiller, although they aren't perfectly straight. Alright, so now it's time to start planting. And you might have noticed when I finished making the rows, I cut a little path through the middle. So that's the dividing line between the corn and the beans. So I'm going to have corn or beans on this front half, corn on the back. I had a ton of beans left over last year when I planted, so I saved the extra seed. And more importantly, what I did this spring is I took some of this seed and ran a germination test to make sure that it was still germinating okay. So it was just a matter of I took 10 seeds, wrapped them in a wet paper towel, stuck them in a closet for a few days, and saw how many sprouted. So these were good enough. I'm going to continue to use them, even though at this point they're over a year old. And I just store them in the refrigerator in a mason jar with a little screw-on lid. So let me start here. The way that I cover up the row is really easy. I don't use a hoe or anything like that. I just cover with my feet as I'm going. So I'm going to get a handful of seeds here. And you want to do about 2 to 3 seeds, spaced about every 6 to 12 inches apart. I'm trying to beat the rain, but this is starting to sprinkle a little bit. Already having this tilled up, I should be okay and not have to worry about compacting the soil any. This soil, it stays nice and fluffy. If you had a more clay-based soil, if it started raining like this, you might want to worry about it. This soil, I know that I'm okay. I just dropped like 5 beans right there, but that's all right. Happy little accident. I got the beans planted. I still have the corn and the okra to do, but I am losing daylight. So something that I've never really shared on any of our videos here at Bob's is something that I do when I finish planting seeds. So when I plant my vegetable garden, no matter what I'm planting, at the end of the day, I say a little prayer for my seeds. And CSX is working down there. But you know, whether you're religious or not, it's something that I do just to ask the good Lord to watch over and protect the seeds and help them grow and keep pests away from them, that I might have a good harvest for my family, friends, and anyone who needs it. So I'm going to do that now. Dear Lord, I thank you for this day and everything in it. Please help these seeds that I just planted and my garden as it grows, that it will flourish and that the pests will stay away, and that I'll have a good harvest, dear Lord, so that it will help nourish my body, my family's body, friends, and anyone else who needs it. Just be with these seeds throughout the summer, that we might have a good harvest. In your name I pray, amen.
All right, there we go. Find the button there. So that's me planting my garden rows. And yeah, like I said, I always say a little prayer for my garden. Um, when I'm out there, it's just me and the birds and the good Lord. So that's kind of my place to kind of decompress and unwind. A lot of people say, "Oh, you work around plants every day. It must be amazing." But yeah, sometimes it could be a little bit stressful here. um, but yeah, that's just something that I do when I'm out in the garden. Um, the last thing that I want to take a look at, and yeah, I'm looking at the comments here. Beth is saying, John and Kay, be so proud of you. So yeah, that's my grandparents, and my grandpa and my grandma taught me pretty much everything that I know about gardening. And he's the one that would always say, "You can fit more plants in a crooked row." um, yeah, and Patty says that she's watching with her mom. And can I say hi to Betty? Hi, Betty. Yep, yep. So Adam is saying good and bad and everything. Yeah, I mean, with the garden, you never know what's going to happen. You just have to make the best of it. I've had years where I've had entire crops fail, and that's just the way it happens sometimes. Um, Speaking of the garden and the weather and everything, let's take a look at the weather. And yeah, Lynn says she's watching from Gibbstown. She lives directly across from where my grandpa used to have a garden. And her husband is actually growing a garden where my grandfather had a second garden. He always had two gardens kind of on each side of the house. Um, so yeah, let's take a look at the weather, which right now it is kind of blooming rainy outside. So we've got some scattered rain showers, um, but it does look like with the radar here that the rain is starting to kind of move off of us, which is a good thing. And for the rest of this week, it looks like we've got a pretty good forecast. So 72 and sunny tomorrow, up to 80 on Thursday. And then heading into the weekend, 80, some clouds around on Friday. Then it looks like we're going to get some rain on Saturday, and then back to sunny weather on Sunday. So overall, I mean, we've got one little rainy day there on Saturday, which, sometimes rainy days is the best time to visit your local Bob's Market because you can't be out, planting stuff. So it's a great day to do some shopping. Um, but yeah, the weather overall looks pretty good, aside from today, which is a little bit chilly and rainy. And yeah, the weather app that I use to bring you the forecast, it is just the inbuilt Microsoft one. um, so yeah, it's a little bit different layout than what we're used to, but that is the upcoming weather forecast. And let me find my mouse here. That is all that I have for this week's episode of Bob's Live. And yeah, let me check the comments here before I go. So yeah, Adam says my cucumbers, sunflowers, leaf lettuce came up in just 5 days. Yeah, this time of year when you plant seeds, the ground it's warmed up now, so they'll just jump and take right off. I planted leaf lettuce back like in late March and had it underneath some row covers, and it is amazing how slowly it growed compared to the leaf lettuce that I was growing hydroponically indoors that I planted at almost the same time. Um, that when I grow it hydroponically indoors, it's ready in like 3-4 weeks. Outside in those same 3 weeks, the leaf lettuce was maybe an inch tall, which now it's beautiful. It's ready to be harvested, and yeah, he says my blueberries are setting for the first time. And again, Lynn, she's asking about the drawing for the gift card, which I did that earlier in the episode. And again, if you missed it, Sharon Roush won the gift card. But Adam, he says his blueberries are setting for the first time. Lynn's husband, he's got some blueberries with some nutting over them. And yeah, if you plant blueberries, that is something to keep in mind. Really, with blueberries or any fruit trees, if you're planting a young fruit tree or blueberry bush or something like that, it usually takes a couple years before you start getting fruit. I've got an apple tree down at my house that I planted like 4 years ago. Last year I had maybe two apples on it that looked pretty good. This year it is loaded. So I've got to get it sprayed. It's finished blooming now. I'm going to spray it with some fungicide and some kind of a broad insect repellent, just to keep kind of like bagworms and that sort of stuff at bay. Um, but yeah, it normally takes a few years for those plants to get established and start really producing fruit. Yeah, he says this is the beginning of third year. Quite a few on it. So yeah, typically the general rule of thumb with blueberries, grapes, raspberries, different things like that. Raspberries are a little bit quicker, but generally it's about 3 years before you start getting good harvests. And you'll notice too, like if you're growing apple trees, and blueberries are the same way. You'll have 1 year with a really good harvest, and then the plant kind of rests for a couple years, and you'll still have a good harvest, but it'll be less, and then you'll have a really good harvest again. Um, I've noticed the same thing like with my grapes. I'll have one really huge harvest, and then kind of a couple smaller years while it kind of regains its strength, and then you'll have another really good harvest. Um, that's why it's a good idea, and it's something that I'm working toward on my property is kind of staggering when I'm planting stuff. So I try to plant a couple fruit trees each year, and try to plant. I want to plant some new grapevines and move them. I've got them where the previous homeowner had them, and really I don't like them there. So that's a future project for me, and it'll probably definitely end up in a video. And well, I am starting to ramble. uh, so that is it for this week's episode of Bob's Live. Again, give us a thumbs up and a share, and that way other people can find our show. We're live every Tuesday, normally at 5 p.m. when I'm not stuck on a very boring conference call. So until next time, keep growing.